When it comes to building secure attachment in relationship, it's normal for our conversations to be very conceptual. The problem with conceptual conversations about building attachment, though, is that we exist in our relationships in reality. As in, we need things to be tangible. We need them to be practical. So, let's start with 5 things that it's good to focus on, again, as you're trying to build secure attachment. So these are 5 things that you want to make sure you're doing. Number 1. Prioritize communication. And no, I don't just mean who's going to get the groceries, who's going to feed the dog, who will put the kids to bed. I mean working to be actively open and engaged and connected. Talking about your feelings, your lives, your experiences, sharing in what you feel, what you experience with your partner, because at the end of the day, that kind of vulnerability is part of what creates intimacy that leads to secure attachment in relationship. And that means when you're talking to your significant other, make sure that you're going out of your way to let them know that you are actively listening. You're validating what they're feeling and you're actually responding instead of just sitting there being like, and not really paying attention. The second thing that you should try and focus on is showing appreciation. It's so easy to take for granted the people that we interact with every day, the people that we live with every day, even if they're the ones who do the most for us. And part of building secure attachment is feeling as though I'm cared for, as though I'm appreciated, as though I'm even needed in the relationship that I'm in. That means showing them gratitude not just for what they do for you and for your relationship, your family, your kids, your house, your whatever, but it also means showing gratitude for who they are as a person, the things that they're interested in, the things that bring energy into your lives, into your relationship, and the ways that you see them doing things that you're like, you're just an awesome person, and it's so exciting that I get to live life with you. Third, go out of your way to spend quality time together. That doesn't mean just sitting down with some popcorn and Netflix every night of the week. It means actually planning dates, planning interactions. And they don't always have to be expensive. You can just buy a puzzle and sit down and be like, hey, let's build this together and have a conversation while we do it. Paint a picture, make a dinner together. There are so many different things that you can do to spend quality time with someone where you're actively engaged together. You've eliminated distractions like phones, TVs, whatever else is going on, and instead, you're just enjoying the experience of getting to interact, getting to be together and work again on building your relationship in the secure attachment within it. Fourth, respect that you're both equally still individuals. Just because you're in a relationship together does not mean that you're now one person who has to share everything and have everything in common, from your hobbies to your friends to your interests to whatever it may be. You're allowed to still be individuals even as you live life together. And the more you work to respect that about each other and even to support each other in that, like, hey, you have this thing that you really enjoy, I want to make sure that you know that I support that and I want you to have time with it. Again, that builds security in a relationship and it builds secure attachment because I know that you don't just care about me, you care about supporting me as the person I am. And finally, number 5, work to resolve conflicts constructively. That means you're trying to approach them as a team, working together to say, okay, we're facing this issue that we're both dealing with, and it's not me versus you. It's us versus it. It's us working together to resolve the conflict. And that means neither of us are going to run away from it. Neither of us are going to avoid it. We're not going to resort to hurtful behavior to be like, well, you're an idiot. We wouldn't be in this problem without you. Instead, we're going to say, okay, here's me, here's you. Let's work together to figure out what are our strengths, what do we need to figure out in order to actually resolve whatever this thing is that we're facing together. And as you're working on incorporating all 5 of these things into your relationship, remember that the specifics of how your relationship works, the specifics of what make each of you feel secure in that relationship, will be dependent on each of you as individuals. Which is why that first one is so important. Learning how to be actively, openly, and honestly engaged in communication and figuring out, hey, when you did this, that really made me feel secure versus, hey, when you did that, it didn't. And as you're doing this, make sure you're giving each other that feedback. Because sometimes we will do things that don't make our relationship more secure. Which brings up the 3 things that I'm going to give you that you should try and avoid if you're trying to make your relationship more secure. First, avoid those negative comments. They're not necessary. And that doesn't mean avoiding hard things. It means avoiding the things that are like insults, manipulation, gaslighting, any sort of the like, oh, I was just kidding. I didn't mean to be so insulting. Wink, wink. You don't need that in your relationship. And it's not going to help you feel more secure. The second thing to avoid is withholding affection. And that doesn't mean you have to be all over each other constantly, But it does mean that you have to remember that you're here to support each other. You're here to let each other know that each other is loved. And it's not healthy if we ever get into the habit of being like, well, we're in a conflict right now, so I'm gonna withhold me being affectionate to you as punishment or as like an incentive to get you to change or do something. As much as, again, we don't have to always be all over each other, it's not really valuable to teach through punishing, to teach by being like, well, I'm going to withhold this until you give me that. Because that's not what affection should be. Affection should be about being intimately connected, not about punishing or even using it as an incentive for getting something that you want or for changing something about your partner. And finally, the third thing to avoid is ignoring emotional needs. When you are in a relationship with someone, their emotional needs are just as important as yours. And yes, whose emotional needs take priority in any given moment may change, but on a fundamental level, both your and your significant other's needs are important. So when they come up, don't ignore them, don't dismiss them, don't belittle them, don't invalidate them. Instead, make space for them. Let them know that you're here for them. Validate what they're experiencing and ask them what they need in order to be supported in that moment. Practicing showing up for our partners when they're in a moment of emotional need is so valuable. And it goes a long way in terms of building secure attachment in relationship. At the end of the day, a lot of what it takes to build secure attachment in our relationships is about learning how to consistently, reliably, and lovingly show up for our partners in a way that enables them to confidently know that we are truly there for them in our relationship, and that they can rely on that reality to be true in the good times and the hard times.